morning, Neighborhood Watch fans. Last week we posted the video with Mary Knox. That was a truncated video, and today I'm going to post the entire 21-minute long video, so you can get a better understanding of what she has accomplished and what got her to this point. So I hope you enjoy the whole video, and thanks again for the support.
Nice. All right, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Neighborhood Watch. I'm Matt.
I'm Abe.
I'm Brett.
And there's Pat.
Pat's in the back today.
His wife's birthday today, 50th birthday. So they're celebrating. He couldn't make it. And we have a special guest today.
Happy birthday, Liz, by the way.
Yes, happy birthday, Liz. Brett, introduce our guests.
So we have a special guest tonight. Thank you very much for being here. We have Mary Knox. She is a candidate for District Attorney of Contra Costa County. An election that's coming up very shortly. And she's here to tell us about herself and all that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary, for coming on.
Great. Thank you guys so much for this opportunity. I'm Mary Knox. Was born and raised in Contra Costa County in a time when during the summer, we jumped on our bikes in the morning and played in the walnut orchards. And our one rule was to be home by the time the streetlights came on.
Those are the days.
And I feel very fortunate to have been raised in such a positive, healthy county that had so many opportunities for us. And I was actually the first freshman class at Northgate High School. And then I went on to college at UCLA and law school at Pepperdine, and then came right home afterwards and was a law clerk in the Contra Costa DA's office. And then I've been a prosecutor in the DA's office ever since for 37 years. So I've been in every criminal division in the DA's office. I started in gang homicide in 2006. And then moved into quote unquote regular homicide, and then supervised our homicide unit. That was a really rewarding assignment for me. We have some very talented investigators in the DA's office with tremendous homicide unit experience. So when locals came in with cases, we partnered them with DA investigators and assigned my homicide unit attorneys to them. And it was a great collaborative team environment in the homicide unit, and we accomplished some really significant things. And while I was in that unit, I was part of the Federal Violence Reduction Network that came to Oakland and to Richmond. We had the dubious distinction of being one of the most violent cities in the United States that required federal intervention. So being part of that, that model was prevention, intervention, and education to reduce gang violence. And so I was under DA Mark Peterson, I was allowed to create a new unit or division in the DA's office called the Community Violence Reduction Unit that was focused on the same model: intervention, prevention, and education to reduce gang violence in our county. And at the same time, our lieutenant of investigators of the homicide unit, he actually created the DA FBI Safe Streets Task Force in Martinez. And so that gave us the ability to have our own wire room, which is really crucial in gang investigations. So not only are we, when we're on the wires listening to gang members talking about committing future crimes, we can intervene to prevent those crimes. And frequently those are homicides. So we had our own wire room and had a huge, really amassing of talent at the Safe Streets Task Force. And then the attorneys in my unit were assigned to the task force to wire investigations and to those agents. And then I had a DA who her entire assignment was to go into the middle schools, because research shows that age group is the most susceptible to an anti-gang, anti-drug message at that point in time. In my career, I was now on my third generation of gang-involved families and drug-involved families. And it just felt to me like we needed to change the outcomes for these kids who were in communities where the gangster lifestyle was so like it was the thing. That was the only option. And if you were going to be like a power player, you had to be like the baddest gang member in your community. And we had to give them options. We had to give them, you know, other outcomes for their lives. And so that was really a focus for me. And Laura also was part of the student absence review boards. And for people who aren't part of that, it's basically the district's oversight of truant kids. And at that point in time, we discovered that the truancy rate in some of our schools was 53%. And not in the high schools with high schoolers cutting class. This was in the K through 8s with the little kids not being brought to school by their parents. So the juvenile judges saw how kids who weren't in school became involved in the juvenile justice system because they were committing crimes during the day when they weren't in school. So those judges were so focused on reducing the truancy in our county that they, without any additional staffing, they created an adult truancy court. And we partnered with them in that effort. And so once we had the parents coming into court to explain and try and address this truancy, there were huge social service issues with some of the families. For example, a 22-year-old mom who has a 5-year-old starting kindergarten, half day, of course, then a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old, and she's by herself. She has no car. She has to get all 3 kids up and dressed and on a public bus to get the 5-year-old to kindergarten by 8 o'clock. And then turn around and do it all again at 11 o'clock in the morning to pick the kindergartner up. So if there's some some cog in that wheel, like she doesn't have the money to afford the bus to get them all on the bus in the morning, or if one of the kids is sick, then the whole thing just falls apart. So we partnered with the Long's drugstore family, and they created $1 million grant to bring Lincoln Child Center into the truancy court to provide social services for the families. And then our county behavioral mental health matched that with another $1 million grant to bring mental health treatment into the families. And so it was so rewarding to see, with just the social services and the mental health treatment, how we changed outcomes for an entire family and not just for the one student. So in addition, at the same time, sort of in a different focus, the freeway shooting started in 2015 on Highway 80 out through Highway 4, Richmond to Antioch. And that was very much gang related. And gang members were hunting rival gang members up onto the freeways to kill them, understanding how challenging those investigations were. So I was tasked with getting cameras on the freeways, but I felt like that 100% didn't address all of the issues that we had in the investigations. And so I worked with a really talented technology guy and with ShotSpotter, the gunfire detection company, and Vigilant. And we created a system that, just to show you how it works in real time, there's a shot fire on the freeway. Our task force commander gets an alert from ShotSpotter on a smart device. He can log into our system that has pan tilt zoom cameras running 24/7. The ShotSpotter has actually, through software, turned the pan tilt zoom cameras in the direction of the gunfire. So the task force commander actually has eyes on the freeway where the shooting has happened and can send screenshots of potential suspect vehicles down to freeway adjacent law enforcement. ShotSpotter engineers got really involved in this project, impressively so. And so they were trying to create a system that would be like perfection for us as investigators. So we shut down the freeways at 2 o'clock in the morning with CHP. Caltrans brought sand trucks up so that we could do test fires on the freeway to really calibrate the GPS so we would know the exact location of the shooting. So the shell casings are really important in gang-related shootings because gang guns get passed around between different gang members and they're used in different shootings. So it's really helpful for us to be able to connect the casings to different gang-related shootings. So now we have the GPS coordinates so we can go back and collect our shell casings up on the freeway. We have the exact time of the shooting, which we'd never had before. And so we can go through our camera feed. We found like passengers hanging out the windows of cars, shooting down the freeways, or we can, if it's dark, we can see muzzle flashes of gunfire on the freeway. And then we also have the license plate readers to identify suspect vehicle license plates and witness license plates at the same time. So it was a phenomenal system that we developed, but I couldn't find funding in Contra Costa. So I went to Sacramento to the Capitol and I literally walked the halls until I ended up in the office of the then Transportation Secretary, Brian Kelly, who had frankly, the wisdom to see the violence prevention that this could bring to Contra Costa. And it was the first of its kind in the nation, if not the world. That we had this kind of coordinated information sharing. And so Secretary Kelly provided $3.5 million in funding to Contra Costa to bring this system to our freeways. And so at the height of the shootings in 2015 to 2016, we'd had 58 confirmed shootings by bullet strikes in cars on our freeways in Contra Costa, with 8 fatalities in the highest traveled commute corridors in Northern California. So by the time we had the system fully installed and operational in 2019, we'd had a precipitous drop throughout. The media was really fantastic in actually covering all of this. And so the message was going out and we were hearing on the wires, gang members say, don't do your dirt on the freeways. They've got the cameras up. And so by 2019, in our coverage area, we had 2 shootings and they were solved within hours with information from the system.
Very good.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just a really exceptional example of what we can accomplish working collaboratively with private industry, with state agencies, and then regionally throughout Contra Costa County to prevent crime.
Very nice. That's excellent. Is that still in place? That's still going on?
Yes.
Yep. Very good.
It is. And so our 3-year pilot expired at the end of the fiscal year in 2021. And we received additional annual funding with direction to develop a new pilot plan to expand the system. And then I have a vision for how we can incorporate some technology into the system to help us prevent organized retail theft and solve that retail theft and the looting when it comes to Contra Costa. So that plan will be presented to the relevant state agencies in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I think we all seems like we hear more of lower dollar property crimes versus violent crimes. Catalytic converters is whatever reason, a really big thing. And
It is.
and shoplifting. And we know that there was a law that went into effect a couple years ago in California that raised the dollar amount to from I guess 250 to 950. So it seems like property crime's gone up. Because maybe criminal types aren't as worried about being arrested. I don't know if I'm right or wrong on that, but what can be done about all of that?
So Proposition 47 was passed, and everyone, I'm sure when we all got our ballot statements and read, safe neighborhoods and schools, that sounds great. I'll vote for that. But that's what created that $950 felony ceiling, if you will, on the merchandise theft. Before, DAs had discretion to file. It's just a really sad fact of life that people who are engaged in property crimes, there's very much a recidivist flavor to that, and people stealing to fuel a drug habit. So the quote unquote petty theft with a prior conviction was something that was very focused on recidivist felons. And that removed that tool from the prosecutor's tool belt, if you will. But one really significant issue that has arisen with the current DA, she now has a policy that we are not allowed to file misdemeanor property offenses when the merchandise stolen is less than $300. And you can do that 3 times in a single year. But when you think about the fact that no one's arrested and there's no way to keep track of this 3 times a year. So the merchants now know that $300 is a lot of merchandise. You can waltz out of Safeway with a 6-pack of Rombauer Chardonnay and there's nothing happens. So the criminals are very aware of this. Quite frankly, the organized retail theft is attracting crime into Contra Costa, which never happened in the past. Criminals avoided coming to Contra Costa because our law enforcement was so effective. Throughout my career, people would say to me, like when I would say, "Oh, I'm a DA," they'd be like, I know I should know what a DA does, but I really don't. What is your job?" And I think that came from, we were all kind of spoiled because the DAs, the sheriffs, and the police chiefs were all so collaborative and focused on law enforcement here. No one needed to know what the DA did. But quite frankly, since I've been campaigning since last July, everybody knows what the DA does now because the DA is not doing her job.
There you go.
So,
So the election is June 7th.
correct.
What do you want undecided voters to know about you?
That I will bring 37 years of experience to doing the job of the district attorney. I feel like I've been in training for this job for 37 years. And I'm one huge focus of my career has been on enforcing victims' rights. And when we are not charging people with crimes, there is this massive number of victims in this county. They have the constitutional right to restitution for what's been done, the wrongs that they have suffered, for the merchandise that has been stolen from them, from the catalytic converter. That replacing the Prius catalytic converter costs $2,500. And like on a truck, it's $6,000. And when people are out cutting the converters off of 15 cars a night, there are just thousands of victims here who will never receive restitution, and they have the constitutional right to have their voices heard in a criminal court. We are denying victims their constitutional rights by not enforcing our laws. And we've just created attracting crime to Contra Costa. Everyone has seen it happen. The looting of Walnut Creek in 2020, 61 stores were hit in one day with over $5 million in damage and in property loss. And that does not include the stores that were hit the same day in Pleasant Hill. The Best Buy, it's shocking. I think if you asked anyone in Contra Costa County 5 years ago, if they would take a bet that our stores would be being looted, like people would be like, "Oh no, I'm going to bet. I'm taking that bet." Yeah, but everything has essentially changed now. And then everyone saw how it all played out in Broadway Plaza in November of 2021, when 80 cars descended into Contra Costa County. They all left their cars running, parked in front of Nordstrom. And at 8:45 p.m., all organized on social media, and they all hit that store at the same time because the store was about to close. and they all knew what they were going there to steal. Picked not a lot of sympathy here, but picked the Gucci boutique clean. It was all clearly, they were all working in concert with each other. A knife was drawn on one of the clerks in Nordstrom. One of the clerks was bear sprayed in the face, and another one took a running kick to the head that like leveled him. They were terrorized in that store. So we have to reverse the trajectory of how this is the lawlessness now in Contra Costa, and just restore public safety by just quite simply enforcing our laws and holding people accountable who choose to commit crimes and protecting victims' rights.
Yes.
Very good. Excellent.
And really important that everyone, all the voters understand there is no November general election for the DA and for the sheriff. Both races, there are only 2 candidates, and a simple majority will elect your next DA and your next sheriff on June 7th. So your vote is crucial.
So that is either by mail-in ballot or in person?
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I got a ballot.
Yeah, I got one. But
All right.
I do in person. It's
June
fun.
7th.
Get a little sticker.
If you're
Yeah,
happy with the way things
I
are,
voted.
then
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah, June 7th coming up.
Yeah.
Just a couple weeks away. So
Well, thank you so much for coming on and telling us about, what you plan to do. And we appreciate that.
Yeah.
We have the same viewpoints. So we appreciate that and wish you the best of luck in this election.
Thank you guys so much for this opportunity and for your viewers right now. I so appreciate the opportunity, and I really hope to earn your vote June 7th.
All right.
very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. Have a nice evening.
You
You
too.
too.
Bye.
Thanks, Mary.